I'm not ashamed.
Why was Jesus treated like a king when he came to Jerusalem? That is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Matthew on walking through the Bible.
It's worth the glory of his cross.
If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Matthew chapter 21. We're going to be reading from verses 1 to 11. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Matthew chapter 21, beginning at verse 1. Now when they drew near Jerusalem and came to Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, then Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, Go into the village opposite you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. And if anyone says anything to you, you shall say, The Lord has need of them, and immediately he will send them. All this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, Tell the daughter of Zion, Behold, your king is coming to you, lowly and sitting on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey. So the disciples went and did as Jesus commanded them. They brought the donkey and the colt, laid their clothes on them, and set him on them. And a very great multitude spread their clothes on the road. Others cut down branches from the trees and spread them on the road. Then the multitudes who went before and those who followed cried out, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. And when he had come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, Who is this? So the multitude said, This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth of Galilee. At the end of chapter 20, we had Jesus traveling from Jericho towards Jerusalem. There was a specific road that would make that journey, which is a distance of 22 kilometers or 14 miles. Simply from reading the text, one could easily assume that this journey was relatively flat, but knowledge of the geography paints a different picture. Jerusalem is about 1,000 meters or 3,300 feet higher in elevation from Jericho. That means that this journey is quite a climb, even for a person in the fittest of shape. We don't read this in Matthew, but from John 12, we find that Jesus spent the Sabbath day at the house of Lazarus, which is in Bethany on the road to Jerusalem. That means that the events that take place here are on Sunday, the first day of the week. Thus, it is now 1 full week before Jesus' resurrection. Drawing now towards Jerusalem, they come to Bethphage, which is a village at the Mount of Olives. The Mount of Olives overlooks Jerusalem, and it is here that Jesus tells 2 of his disciples to go into the neighboring village, and you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Loose them and bring them to me. How did Jesus know this? Jesus is God. He knows where you and I are at every point of our lives, so it is nothing to know where a donkey and a colt are. Was Jesus asking the disciples to steal these animals? No, for Jesus told those who asked the Lord has need of them, and the owners would agree to send them. This is what the disciples did. Matthew tells us that all of this was done to fulfill the words of the prophets. Which prophet was he speaking of, and where is that prophecy? The prophet is Zechariah, and the prophecy is found in Zechariah 9:9, which reads, Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, your king is coming to you. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding on a donkey, and a colt, the foal of a donkey. Jesus yet again fulfills another prophecy written in the Old Testament, a point that Matthew wants to make, that Jesus is the Messiah, the king that Israel was looking for. Now to us, riding into town on a donkey would not be prestigious. We would think of riding in a large horse. However, to the Jews, a donkey was a royal animal. In 1 Kings 1:38, we read of Solomon, So Zadok, the priest, Nathan, the prophet of Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, the Cherethites, and the Pelethites went down and had Solomon ride on King David's mule and took him to Gihon. In this chapter, we have Solomon being pronounced king of Israel, and here he is riding on a mule. So even though we see these animals as beasts of burden, they are a royal animal fit for a king to ride on. When the donkey and colt arrived, they laid their clothes on them as a sign of respect, and Jesus was set on them. Mark and Luke make it clear that Jesus rolled the colt into Jerusalem, not the mother. But it is clear from Matthew that both the mother and the colt were used in the procession. That Mark and Luke omit the mother is not a contradiction, however, because Jesus didn't ride the mother. So Mark and Luke chose to focus on the animal that Jesus did ride. It was Passover time, and so there were floods of people going to Jerusalem for the feast. Jesus had also been followed from Jericho by great multitudes, as we saw at the end of chapter 20. So there were crowds of people who came with Jesus into Jerusalem. The ones who came before spread their clothes on the ground, and others cut down the branches of trees and spread them on the ground as well. This was the type of treatment that royalty and dignitaries received when they entered a city. The multitude shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David," Hosanna being a shout of prayerful joy, calling on the Lord to look favorably upon them and save them. When those who lived in Jerusalem saw this, they wondered who this was. The people answered that this was Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth in Galilee. We'll expand more on this in the next episode. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Matthew 21, verses 12 to 17, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time.
I'm not ashamed.
Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.
Of his cross.